So just before 4:30 a.m. this morning, officers were called to 700 block of Kingstown Place for what appears to be a domestic incident in which shots were fired, exchanged between at least two persons that we know of. Officers were called out, and of course suspects fled the scene. Some went into a nearby residence. They surrounded the residence, began to take measures to try to call the suspects out, to no avail. At a little bit after 8 a.m., the special response team and members of our crisis negotiations team were called out and also began to make contact with those inside the residence. Ultimately, we were able to draw those two male suspects and one female from inside the residence, and we now have detectives on scene. There have been some firearms recovered, and so now the investigation will work to determine exactly what occurred this morning and what charges are appropriate. We do believe there's at least one other suspect that left the scene early this morning prior to police arrival.
Chief, were you advising any, I guess, safe for the folks that live in this community? It's okay for them to come out, unlock their doors, all that?
Yes, it is. And we took safety precautions when officers arrived on scene to make sure that any neighboring houses, had there been any danger, that residents were aware of that. But it is safe to return to your houses at this time. You can't expect to see a police presence for another hour or two while we comb through that residence and make sure there's no evidence on scene.
Go ahead.
Was any shots fired this morning leading up to this? I know you said that's something you're still looking into.
Yeah, but my understanding is that there was an exchange of gunfire between at least two people. And again, there have been some weapons recovered. I do not know how many rounds were fired or the exact circumstances that led to that shooting, but we do believe it to be domestic related from the early reports.
So this woman and one other male may have a relationship going on?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Was the person who was originally shot at the person in that relationship?
Not sure about that, so we've had a couple of different reports as to who was actually being shot at. And we have several witnesses, and as well as at least two different suspects at this point. So hopefully the investigators will be able to make all those determinations fairly early on. Now we have people in custody.
You had multiple calls this morning on this.
We did have multiple calls from residents in the neighborhood, which is a good thing, because that means that people are paying attention to what's going on in the neighborhood, and they recognize that there shouldn't be gunfire at 4:30 in the morning outside of the house.
But that also says that there was a large amount of gunfire this morning. Is that right?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean there's a large amount. It just certainly means that the neighborhood recognized that we shouldn't be hearing gunshots here in the middle of the city of Shreveport. And so kudos to all the neighbors that did call in and give that information to police.
And there were no injuries, correct?
No injuries. So it was a successful event. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So SRT and
Right.
they've been stood down at this hour.
Yeah, I think there may still be a couple of guys in the house just waiting to let detectives take it
Okay.
over. We'll hold the residents, but there's detectives on scene, so
And
this
you're
is
waiting
all
for
taking
warrants
place.
to go into the house? Or is that
Or they
gonna
could
be a
get
problem?
permission from the homeowner. We do have the homeowner, so it really depends on their level of cooperation.
So the suspects that went into this house right now, they're not necessarily residents into this house. Did they go into this house without the owners?
No, we don't believe there was any type of a which you would be speaking of, be more of a hostage situation.
No.
We don't believe they were unwelcome into the home.
Okay.
I don't know that they were residents at the home, but we don't believe that they forced their way into the home and barricaded or anything like that.
So can you say that they knew the homeowner when they went into this house?
I can't say that. That would be the assumption. We have there's no indication that they were not welcome into the house.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.